Okay, just wanted to do another quick video. I'm getting a bit more professional now. I've got something to hold the phone so I can, I've got two hands. This is something that happened recently. It's probably happened to quite a few people. In that I had a radio that would tune sometimes a particular band on HF and not others. So I did some messing around and did some Googling and what have you. And I found that by changing the patch lead, it made a difference to the SWR and the radio tuning. So I did some Googling on it, and there was a suggestion, searching the internet from AI, that shorter patch leads, I'm talking 2 meters at the moment, but it does affect all bands, but it's more noticeable at 2 meters. That 2 meters, shorter patch leads are not necessarily better, which is a bit of a shock to the system. So what I thought was, well, I've got a rig expert analyzer, and I think you can probably see that, hopefully you can, and it does 2 meters 77. So I've got it set up for 144/700, if you can see that. And I thought, well, I've got some patch leads, and this is a 213 patch lead. There's nothing wrong with these patch leads, by the way, and you can replicate this with other patch leads and variant patch leads and what have you. So we'll put that in there. And what I did was I put the dummy load, I've got a dummy load here, and I put that onto the rig expert first, and it came up 1-to-1, so I know the dummy load's all right. So let's have a look at this one. It's 213, and you can see that it's 1.08 to 1, so there is an SWR in the patch lead, which obviously if you're, it's not as critical on HF, but if you're on HF and struggling to tune, then the patch lead could be part of the problem. The other thing to consider is if you've got a patch lead going to an ATU, going to a manual tuner, going to an SWR meter, it's before the device. So if you've got to go into an SWR meter, the SWR meter doesn't see the patch lead. So that one's 1.08, which is quite surprising really, because it's 213 and fairly short. This is a commercial patch lead. I had a very short one, as you can see, and it sort of falls into the thing that maybe short patch leads aren't, maybe as good as long ones. It does vary, obviously. And again, 1.11 on a patch lead that short, and these are not, it's not going to cause your radio to start throttling back. But if you've got a bit of, what seems to happen as well is if you've got a bit of SWR on the antenna, let's say 1.2, 1.3 to 1, it seems to add it. So if you've got 1.1 on your patch lead and 1.2 or 3 on the antenna, it will start pushing it up quite a bit. So the other thing is I've then got another one which is slightly longer. So let's see how this one goes. You would have thought, if anything, this is going to be worse, wouldn't you? Because it's longer, quite simply. They're all sort of mini 8 coax, so decent quality coax. And again, 1.1, but although that's quite a bit longer, it's holding its own against the others. And then we've got some really long ones here. Well, I'd say really long. That's probably, I don't know, 600 mil, something like that. Pop this in. Let's have a look at this one. And being long, you would expect it to be thing. It's 1.18. And to me, that's pretty significant. 1.18 just on the patch lead. It actually could make quite a bit of difference. As I say, imagine your antenna's 1.4, 1.5. It starts kicking up into the zone of potentially starting to throttle the radio. And just the last one, just to show you how they do vary. And just because it's short doesn't mean it's going to be better. Because it's long doesn't mean it's going to be better. But it is certainly worth, if you can, I say, if you've got a patch lead and then an SWR meter, the SWR meter isn't going to read the patch lead. And although that's one of my longer ones, 1.01. So this is actually the one I used, just 1.2, but 1.01, 1.2. 1.02, and this is actually the one that I use on my radio for VHF, because I go to a switch box thing. So as you can see, if you've got a radio and your SWR just creeps up a bit, or you suddenly get to 1.5, 1.6, what happened with me was the SWR was showing about 1.6, 1.7 to 1, and the patch lead I took off it was showing somewhere around the 1.1, and there was a bit of SWR on the antenna as well. So it started just creeping up to a point where it's not anything less than 2, you're going to be all right. But you know, the lower the better, and just for the sake of a patch lead. And as I say, if you're using an external SWR meter, you won't even see this. It's only the fact that I was using an FT991, which has an internal SWR meter, that I could see the whole system. I could see the effects of the patch lead as well as everything else. So just another quick video, just worth checking your patch leads.